Even when I'm sick, I can't resist the urge to go on and at least try to do some content. In this case, I found this video, How Teachers Should Teach Evolution. Best answer ever, Kent Hovind. I watched the first maybe 10 seconds of it and thought, yeah, this'll be something to do a video on, so let's get right to it.
What do you think I should teach scientifically about how living things got here?
Okay. You mentioned fossils are rare. That is not correct. Fossils are abundant. There are trillions of fossils.
There may be a lot of fossils out there in general, Kent, but what I'm certain was meant by that is that the chances of finding a fossilized specimen of any given organism, depending on what it is, may be rather rare. Yeah, you're going to find tons of little diatoms and all that jazz. That's just how that works. That's the environment they're in. It promotes fossilization. Not so much creatures that live other lifestyles.
Transitional fossils are rare. I think they're totally non-existent. There are many major evolutionists like Stephen Gould and Niles Eldredge who would disagree with you. They would say there are no transitional forms. That proves evolution happened quickly.
Depends on what you call a transitional form, the way you define such. I reject those statements. I think everything fits the criteria of a transitional form because it matters where you start and where you end on classifying things. What are the transitional colors between red and blue? Which shade of red? Are these two shades of blue? What are the transitional colors between these two shades? Once you have your beginning and your end, you can see what's in the middle. That's the way I interpret the whole thing.
So the problem is not that fossils are rare. The problem is that fossils that support your theory are rare, okay?
No, because every fossil supports evolution. You just hand wave it away. The fact that we find so many diverse species that are still so similar, yet unique on their own, is a big indication that something obviously has been going on historically, some kind of process. And that process would be evolution. That or your deity just likes to destroy 99% of the life on the planet for fun. That has ever existed on the planet for fun.
Then you also mentioned give us time. Okay. It's been 140 years. What you're saying is we don't have the evidence yet. I think most people would agree with that. There isn't the evidence. There are giant gaps in the record. So until you get the proof.
And we still have enough evidence to know what to be looking for inside of whatever gaps you may think are there. We know what kind of forms to expect at certain layers. We know what kind of target creatures we'd be looking for, the remnants we'd be looking for. Once again, to use the color analogy, it's like if you got a color between red and blue, you know how the spectra should work, so you know what colors to be looking for between red and blue. Oh, look, I found the exact shade I'm looking for. There you go.
Stop teaching it like science. It's not science. Now,
except it is, Kent, and we've told you this 1,000 times.
You should tell. Now, I'm answering your question.
Okay, you're telling me what I shouldn't teach.
I'll tell you what you should.
What I should teach.
You should teach the kids we observe animals producing the same kind of animals. We don't.
What is a kind, Kent? Define it, not go on a 30-minute diatribe about species.
know how they got to this planet. But I'm telling you, the textbooks at Antelope Valley College do not teach evolution as a theory. They teach evolution as a fact.
They do.
Scientific theory can be considered effectively a fact. It's not explicitly one, but it's the graduation point of scientific concepts, Kent. That's as high as it goes. You should know this, having been a science teacher for 15 years.
That's true.
And it shouldn't be done that way. Stop doing that. So teach kids, dogs produce dogs. Teach the kids, if you teach biology, teach all the muscles, the bones, the nerves, that we're amazingly designed. Stop.
No, we're not.
Telling them this is adapted to their environment. Start telling them it's probably designed for their environment.
Except there's no evidence of that. You just assert that it is. Because you're wired to draw weird analogies between things you know are artificial, things you know are constructs, things you know are designed to the natural world. As I've said numerous times, in your view of everything, there is no natural world because everything is intrinsically artificial. because it has to be contrasted against something natural, because anything that's designed is inherently not natural. So you have no basis to actually compare anything on. It kind of is a self-destructive argument.
If the kid says, who's the designer? Say, I don't know. We're not here to talk about that. I don't know if it's Allah or Buddha or Jehovah or a mysterious process we don't know yet. All I
It's probably Bob Saget. I'd take that over your idea.
know is it looks like it's designed.
So are you saying that
Looks like doesn't mean it is, buddy.
that I can't try to say anything at all about the origin of living things? I mean, one of science's greatest quests, whether it be astronomy, where did stars and galaxies come from, geology, one of science's greatest quests is to explain the origins of things. So what do
Wow. Video file corrupted as hell right there.
I say positively about origins?
I would say that would raise several major questions. I don't think science can handle the subject of origins. It's not part of science.
Except it totally is. The further you get into these things, the more nitty-gritty things get, but that's just a side effect of us learning how the universe works and figuring out the fantastic intricacies of everything. It's really quite beautiful and all natural. It doesn't need any special creator, special designer, special anything. The emergent properties of the universe seem to, naturally lean towards you get the right chemicals together, you're gonna get life in the right conditions, I should say. When you get to origin of the universe and stuff, that becomes a little hazy because you're going beyond what is effectively reality from the way I view things. Because trying to think of outside of the universe or before the universe are nonsensical constructs as far as I view everything. Some others may have different opinions, but either way, we are limited by the very nature of reality in discovering some aspects. But galaxies forming, we understand. Stars forming, we understand. Planets forming, we understand. Life forming, we don't know which method worked, but we have a lot of ideas. The process of evolution, once life is going, we got that understood perfectly. You just say nuh-uh, because that ends up pushing your happy, fun sky daddy into a further and further corner of irrelevancy.
We observe dogs producing dogs. How the original dog get here is outside the realm of science. Don't discuss it. No matter what you say about origins, either side is going to upset somebody.
Because, you're the arbiter of what things people say and shouldn't say. And if you're talking about upsetting somebody, if reality ends up making a religious person upset, I'm sorry, they need to get over it. Reality is what the facts are, as R and Ra put it.
If you talk the creation view, you're going to upset the evolutionists. If you talk the evolution view, you're going to upset the creationists. The subject cannot be discussed in a taxpayer-funded school without alienating somebody.
What about taxes, Kent? What's that? Mr. I don't pay taxes? Mr. Instead of getting a $50 building permit, I stretched it out into a court case that went for thousands of dollars, in fines. Because I'm Ken Hovind and I don't respect the actual laws of civilization. I'm a sovereign citizen nutjob. You want to talk again about taxes, Kent? This is before you wound up in jail losing 9 years of your life? Just keep on saying taxes, buddy. That's one of the biggest things we laugh at you about, that you still run the tax line after having been convicted of multiple cases of tax fraud.
It's unnecessary to biology. You could teach all about the anatomy of frogs.
Okay, so you say it's unnecessary to biology, but at the same time, when anyone ever talks about the concept of evolution, which is a part of biology, you want to throw abiogenesis, astronomy, all kinds of other shit in there. So suddenly you're able to be the arbiter of what is and isn't part of a given science, but the actual scientists aren't. Huh.
And hamsters and humans and whales without ever getting into origins. Why waste time on it? There's so much to learn. If we want students to be good doctors someday, they need to learn the biology. The origins has nothing to do with it. There isn't a doctor on this planet that does surgery on people that his study of origins has anything to do with his surgery on these people.
Well, sure, Kent. People should definitely specialize. But isn't it nice to have a well-rounded education? Isn't it nice if you're having higher education if you're in the higher education process, to learn even more details and nuance about the world, about the universe, about life, about biology, about science. Again, being someone who claims they love science, I would expect you to value curiosity into those fields, even if they're not practical for what you do. My love of nuclear power has nothing to do with my day job, but I really like to learn about nuclear power plants, the different systems, the different ways of getting, as Kyle Hill puts it, spicy rocks to generate heat to boil water. Because, nuclear power is still just glorified steam. That's neither here nor there. I'm curious about these things because I take interest in them because I'm a curious person. You seem to think that the curiosity is a moot point, and that it shouldn't be satiated if someone has such curiosities, which generally, higher education, part of it should help satiate those curiosities, or at least provide options to give people more information on stuff that may trigger more curiosities. I don't know. That's the way I feel about it.
It has nothing to do with it. Okay? So it raises a much bigger question of, should we even have public schools? Because there are, getting into the origin subject, maybe everybody should just go to privately funded schools. The Muslims can teach what they believe, the Catholics can teach what they believe, the Baptists teach what they believe.
Should we have privately funded fire departments? Should every road be a toll road? Should the police be private militias hired to handle things? Should we have any public services, Kent? Because by your logic, we shouldn't have any of that. Because public service. Oh, right. Your problem is the contradicting teaching of origins when science deals with cold hard facts, whereas religion deals with mythological BS. But of course, you want to equate science, elements of science, and call them a religion so that you get a false equivalency going on. And so you can claim, well, if evolution's a religion, then they're talking about origins, then get that out of there, because you can't teach about Jesus in schools either. I mean, we all know this, but I just got to call it out in context. That's not how things work, Kent. It's not how any of this works.
And then strict competition, the better doctors would win out the jobs. It wouldn't matter. I'm telling you, the subject of evolution.
Yes, Ken Hovind showing his free market capitalist side. Just let that decide. There's not going to be a million and one other factors that influence things.
Evolution is unnecessary. It's counterproductive. It's a waste of time, and it's not science. Why is it included? I think you should simply.
The human race takes advantage of principles garnered from the study of evolution all the time. We as individuals do every day. Multiple times a day, I'm sure, in one way or another, whether we realize it or not. Medical science, a ton of it, is based on evolutionary principles at this stage, the understanding garnered from these facts. You would rather us go back to the Stone Age with our medical science and technology, because you'd want to throw all those facets out. How far would your reach go? Would it just stop at schools? Would it go into all the books explaining medical processes? Oh, well, that's based on evolution, so you gotta throw it out. Oh, now we can't do the vaccines because, they're bad, even though, they're proven to work. Because we know that's where you stand on stuff, Kent. Where does it end, buddy? And I know, slippery slope, but we're dealing with a person who believes in Christian totalitarianism here, so if he had his way, he wouldn't stop until everything he dislikes to even the tiniest degree is gone from the universe forever.
Kids, I'm going to teach you biology. You probably know an enormous amount of biology about the nervous system, about the circulatory system, the lymphatic system, all the systems of the body.
The classic, let me name off some things to where it sounds like I know what I'm talking about, but since I'm Kent Hovind, I actually have no clue what I'm talking about. I'm just saying things to sound smart. Hovind?
Teach it. Leave the origins out of it.
Contrary to what some of my students say, about 85% of what I teach in my general biology course is not evolution.
Good.
I get accused all the time, oh, Dr. Rainbow, that's all he ever teaches is evolution.
Like, yeah, most of biology that you're going to be taught is not going to be explicitly evolution. There's a lot of facts in there and a lot of just dealing with individual species, individual processes, what have you. You can't abstract it from evolution, but you can talk about it without talking about evolution. I don't need to go into the evolutionary detail of muscles to explain how a muscle works or describe, the muscles in your leg.
That is complete poppycock. You look at my syllabus. I'm teaching them about DNA and RNA and proteins, and
That's good.
so I do.
You asked what I thought you should do. I would leave out the other 15% then and make it 100% biology. Just teach biology.
And we have Classic Kent doing what Classic Kent does. That ends that. I just wanted to see how tackling a shorter Hovind video while I'm sick would do. Didn't go so bad. I'm gonna go lay down now. Later.